there's not a set timeline for anything, you know? Everyone's doing their own thing, and then hopefully most people get to where they want to go.
I mean, a comparison gets you nowhere.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Weekly Show. I'm once again joined by Ridley, and this time we're doing a follow-up to to our little creator interview that we did pretty much about 2 years ago, I would say, yeah. Which is, wow, really interesting to think how time has just gone by.
I mean, my hair's pretty much been growing non-stop since then.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to the Daily Weekly YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another interview, this time with good friend Ridley. Yeah, I'm going to ask you the same questions that I asked you last time. There are 10 in total, and it's kind of all about your journey and your experience as a content creator, and I suppose it'd be more interesting now to see how things have changed. You know, 2 years, a lot can happen, maybe, and not what hasn't happened. It'd be interesting to know what you've been up to. How do you feel?
In general, or about this?
Both.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I really want to see how my answers compare to the first interview. I think it'll be very interesting to watch back.
You know, we've been talking about getting together and doing some bits, but I didn't mention this, and I almost wasn't going to do it because I thought, oh no, we're going to do that. But here we are, kind of throwing it on you to get like a real response, I would suppose.
Yeah. Am I your first repeat interview?
At the moment you are, yes.
Oh, yes. History.
First of all, for those who don't know who you are, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, okay. I'm Ridley, as you may have gathered. I am currently a screenwriting major at university with a minor in film production. Although I do graduate this year. Finally, it's been a long time coming, but hopefully I can escape with a passable grade.
That's what everyone hopes for, isn't it, when they go do those things?
Yeah. So a lot of my time is currently taken up by my dissertation, which is a feature film screenplay, along with some other various essays and presentation stuff that I've got to do for university. But I've done all my filmmaking now, as far as university filmmaking goes. That's all out the way. I can't mess that up anymore. Since our last interview, I have made a couple of films, a couple of short films. Most recently, an entirely new role for me. I was a props manager.
Oh, right.
For my third year final project. My goodness, that was stressful.
Really?
Yeah, dealing with props.
Wow.
Shockingly stressful.
Oh, I wouldn't expect that.
So much more respect for people who do that as a profession.
I mean, because I suppose, I don't know very much about the whole thing, but I wouldn't imagine it being a difficult job to do.
It's almost naivety on my part going into the role, but I thought it would be so much easier because I'll be honest, in my previous efforts making films, I've been a director or a writer. Yeah. Or both, and that at least you feel like you're in control to an extent, whereas with this, no. Not remotely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to put a lot of faith into other people's hands in terms of, say you've ordered a prop online, you've got to hope it arrives in time.
Well, yeah, I suppose there's that,
and, hoping that people will be there to help you carry the props to locations and what have you. It's probably one of my most stressful experiences in film.
Oh, wow.
The film came out okay though. Yeah. So I'm glad I did it because it gave me a different look, a different aspect of filmmaking to try. But it was stressful. I also do spoiler-free film reviews and series reviews as well. Actually, on my FilmIsRidley Instagram and website, where I post almost daily.
I've seen them, I read them, and you really
I've been going hard this year.
You have, definitely, and it's not just there's actual thought put into the reviews. I'm
not.
You're not just like, this is really good. It's like, it's really good, and I think you should watch it. Like, there's more to it. There's some substance to it.
I try and be critical. Almost sounds negative, but I do try and break it down a little bit. Yeah. Obviously, with things like Instagram, character limits and time constraints, I can't do a whole essay. Maybe that'll be something I'll try to do in the future once my degree is out of the way. Maybe I'll take more time and write longer ones. But for now, I try and keep it relatively condensed and just get the gist of kind of an actor performance or the cinematography across. But I do really enjoy it, even though I've been doing it 6 years now. I still consider it a hobby and not like I've got a poster.
Yeah.
Oh. No, it's still fun for me.
Oh, I mean,
and
that's a good thing.
I get so many people who will message me, and they're usually friends of mine already, for example, but they'll say, "Oh, I really liked your review, actually," or "That encouraged me to go watch this," and it's really nice, to be honest. So that's probably about the gist of what I'm doing at the moment. I have just recorded my first podcast episode after umming and ahhing for about 3 years.
Yeah.
But finally got it done. It's on there. It's on Spotify. And I think I've about 10 people that listen to it, but it's worth it.
I know from experience how, doing it is one thing, and then seeing how it does after is a whole other thing that you kind of had to contend with. You said you put it off for so long. Are you glad that you finally done it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I made the Instagram account about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I really thought I was going to make it back then. But then there were a couple of little things, and I think I was just procrastinating a lot. And then one evening last week or something, I just thought, you know what? To hell with it. I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
So I just got my phone out and I recorded it, slapped some royalty-free music on it, onto Spotify it went, and that was that. I didn't really expect it would work as well as it did in terms of how quickly it went onto Spotify.
Yeah.
I thought I'd have to kind of record it separately and then work out how to put like an MP4 file onto it or something. I really had no experience with recording. That was really not cathartic, but it was kind of it was a weight off my shoulders to finally just get it out there.
Yeah. But, you did it by yourself.
Yeah.
Which many people, including myself, I'd find it difficult.
It is difficult. It is really difficult. You have no one to bounce off of.
Yeah.
Almost. Because I remember, I think 18 months ago or something, I tried to record it, and I'd written essentially a whole script for it. And I thought this would take me a good half an hour to get through. It came out in about 10. Now thought,
I've been there, I've done that. Especially when, I was doing the Daily Weekly podcast last year, for example, when it came down to where it's just going to be me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not ideal. I haven't written the episodes for this, but I gave it a go. One of them, which would have been at least half an hour with somebody else, it came out at 15 minutes. Was it even worth doing?
It's almost deflating, because now you think you've just talked to yourself for 15 minutes.
So I stopped it for like a year, and I've started doing it again recently, but I've gone into it with a new outlook. Like, I'm doing this, it is just me, but I'm making it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you ready to do it as you are?
I don't mind doing it by myself. I enjoy talking about films and TV and what have you. I think the more I do it as well, the more refined it will get in terms of the content and my confidence speaking. If I can get guests on it, I think I will try at some point, but I'm not going to put a timer on it. I'm not going to stress myself out over it. If it comes down to it, I'll do the whole thing alone.
That's a similar thing with me. It's like, it's always easier said than done to say, oh yeah, we can work together and we'll get a guest on, but there's a lot of logistics that go into those things.
I mean, a perfect example is kind of us trying to make content together. Yeah. Where I've been 100+ miles away. It's just not feasible.
No. So it's one of those things where you're doing something solo and you have to be in the right mindset.
Yes.
I think if you going into it, I'm doing this by myself. It's better than, I was going to do it with them, but now I'm doing it just me.
Yeah.
It sets the tone, and then you're kind of thinking,
Yeah, and you don't want to see it as a chore.
It's got to be something you enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's got to be fun, otherwise what's the point?
Exactly. Kind of leads me on to my next question is, how long have you been creating content?
Ooh.
And I suppose, what do you define as content?
I guess I would count that as probably when I first started my film reviews, and they weren't anywhere near as long or as thought out necessarily as they are now. They would usually just be about 2, if you were lucky, 3 sentences being like, oh, I really enjoyed this film, especially this bit, go watch it. And that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
7 years. Oh, I feel old. Yeah, 7 years ago, I used to do just small little reviews. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of my Instagram, you'll find one for Casablanca, which is about 2 lines long, for example. I've come a long way. So there's reviews for days on there. My website's actually only been up for, I think I got a Snapchat memory of me after I first posted it. So it's only about a year old. Just over a year. So a lot of the creation has happened relatively recently. For a long time, it was just the casual reviews, and I wasn't even doing those that often. In fact, the FilmIsRidley Instagram was originally, it was a personal account that I just sometimes would post film recommendations on.
Yeah.
And then I kind of made the decision to switch over and just make it entirely film-based. And I don't regret it at all, to be honest. I think it's turned out really well. A lot of people enjoy it. Recently, I've had a bit of a boom in followers as well, which has been gratifying. It wasn't necessary, but it definitely sweetens it. You know,
definitely.
to know that there are people who are interested, actively interested.
Yes.
Most of the followers, as it is when you start off a very small channel or Instagram account or whatever it is, it's mostly your friends and your family that interact with it. So it's really nice to see people that, you know, I've never met before, I've never spoken to, you know, not from the same country, not from the same continent even, and they are actively following, liking, commenting, you know, and it's really gratifying to see that, because it makes you feel like you know, because there is a tendency when your family and friends are interacting, you think, oh, they're just doing that because they're my friends or family. Not that you don't appreciate it, but there is that kind of thought in your head. You know, it's the kind of thing where you go, oh, if you've got a boyfriend or girlfriend and they tell you look good, you think, oh, but you have to, because you're my partner, you have to do it.
Yeah.
But when a stranger
it's
gives
nice
you
to
that,
the complete outside view in someone's then I feel like you know that what you're doing, it must be good.
Yeah,
like,
because this is a stranger. They don't have to do that. They've gone out of their way to do a like, for example. But it's still like you're sending that message theoretically across the world, essentially, to say, hey, good job, I enjoyed this content.
And I suppose we're in a world where there are so many different types of content, literally everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know, people could be scrolling, to make somebody stop and then read
it.
And I think that's another thing, you know, Instagram pictures, scroll, but to actually stop and read a post on Instagram especially, I think that's a whole other skill that you've got to manage to keep someone's attention.
Absolutely, especially in a world of short attention spans. It's just a paragraph, essentially. It's a big paragraph, but a paragraph nonetheless. You know, that's still a lot for people to read on things like Instagram. You know, so I appreciate it a lot, to be honest.
Leading on to the next question is, where do you see, you know, your brand going? Or do you see it as a brand? Well, I know it's a hobby for you, but like, what do you...
I mean, sort of. It's kind of, it's semi-branded. Because obviously you've got the FilmIsRidley name. Right, which I've kept for Instagram, the website, Facebook, Twitter, you know, the general social media. And then I've kind of got, there's the Lost Raccoon Films, which is kind of, it's essentially an amateur production company almost. It's just where I post my filmmaking experiences on there. And I wanted to keep that separate because it's slightly more professional. Not professional, but you know what I mean. It's not, I didn't want it to be amongst the film reviews, because then it might just get cluttered, lost in the mix, so to speak. And then obviously the podcast is its own thing as well. I mean, I guess they all come under the FilmIsRidley banner to an extent. Would I call it a brand? Not sure. But where do I see it going? I mean, ideally, I will keep doing the film reviews for as long as people are interested and as long as I enjoy it. Which I don't see that stopping anytime soon. The podcast, we'll see how it goes. I enjoyed doing that first episode. We'll see how I enjoy the next few. The kind of Lost Raccoon Films. Ideally, I'd start making some more films, and I think I might do that maybe in the summer. You know, even if it's just by myself, making some really basic stuff. Just to get the ball rolling and give me some more experience with editing, directing, etc. And you can see where I go from there.
And as you touched upon your different things with the film reviews and then kind of the podcast and things, how each one is separate enough but also links back to the the same core of the whole, because even on the podcast you're talking about films, so it all links back together. But then obviously you can't, as you said, you couldn't have it all on one because they're different enough. That's a similar thing for us, is how we've got like 4 different channels, but each thing is its own thing in a way that it just wouldn't work in the same.
Builds, for example, works better on its own.
It just the way it is. And I suppose it can feel like, at least in my experience anyway, it feel like, am I spreading myself too thin here?
Right.
I've got too many things on the go. Do you ever feel like that?
I mean, not in the sense of those different channels, because the FilmIsRidley one is pretty consistent. But the Lost Raccoon Films, for example, that one, it ebbs and flows depending on how much filmmaking I'm actually doing. So there will be times where that channel is relatively quiet. So, for example, at the moment it's quite quiet because I'm not doing filmmaking. I'm just doing writing mostly. And then obviously the podcast is very new, so we'll see how I handle that. But no, I wouldn't say I feel stretched at all in terms of that kind of creative side. I still really enjoy it. I find it not easy, but it's not difficult. It's not a chore to me.
Well, have you had any struggles in your journey as a content creator, to put it broadly?
I mean, filmmaking really difficult. A lot, it's right when professional filmmakers will go, oh, you've got a phone, so just go out and do it. But it's not quite that simple. I mean, in theory, yes, absolutely, you could go do that. But if you're wanting to make quality, thought-provoking content, you've got to go and write a script. You've got to go either hire people, or even if you're getting your friends to do it, you have to get them to take it seriously. You've got to have some basic knowledge of editing, which I didn't for a long while, to be fair. And you've kind of got to know where you're going with it, because if you've got no direction, it just ends up being a bit of a mess. So it's definitely been quite a steep learning curve, this kind of filmmaking journey, for sure. I've made a lot of mistakes, which I'm sure just about every filmmaker has made at some point. But it's been, educational is the best way to put it, and that's all you can really hope for, is you learn from your mistakes or shortcomings in that sense. So that's been a challenge, I guess. As far as the rest of my creativity goes, beyond bad internet preventing me posting exactly when I want to, no, I would say it's a pretty smooth sailing.
Oh yeah, even in 2023, there's still a thing as bad internet. Shouldn't be, but it's there.
Oh, it's painful.
Oh, it is. I know what that's like. But on the flip side of struggles, what's been your favourite moment so far?
Favourite moment so far? Wow.
It's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I probably said this one last time, but I did get my first year film shown in the local cinema, which is a really nice moment. But I think now that it's been some time, there have been some other experiences, so the recent growth of my channel has been really satisfying and exciting. There was a networking event I went to, which kind of really made me feel like that this is an achievable goal. The filmmaking, the writing side, and there was a Q&A with British filmmaking legend Ken Loach.
All right.
Who made films like Kes for example, and if you Google him, you might recognise some of his films. And I got to ask him a question, and I thought that was a really cool moment for me. So I think it's a lot of little moments like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
They've all been I've really appreciated them, I should say. I'm very grateful that I'm even in the position to get those small opportunities. You know, I don't take any of it for granted.
Did you ever see yourself still doing the whole movie reviews now? Like, do you think you'd keep up with it?
I definitely didn't see it being the way it is now.
Yeah.
I thought initially that I was just going to continue with it just being very casual, you know, maybe just in amongst my kind of more personal posts. I definitely didn't expect it to be such a regular thing all these years later, where I'm posting, if anything, even more than I used to. And obviously my filmmaking kind of career prospects / aspirations have changed quite dramatically. So I went to college and then on to university specifically because I wanted to be a director. That was what I wanted to do. And in the years since, I've steadily, kind of slowly but surely headed over to the writing aspect, to the point where now I think being a screenwriter / novelist would be my aim now.
Oh. Do you think your aspirations have changed through what you've learned that's kind of shaped, you know, your...
Yeah, I think the even making student films, which is pretty much entirely what I've done in terms of filmmaking, that definitely was very eye-opening. Not that I ever thought it would be easy, but it wakes you up to a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily think about initially when you're thinking, oh, it'd be great to be a director, you know. It's so much more challenging than you imagine. Doable, but it's challenging. And what I found was, the more I directed and the more I wrote, the more I enjoyed the writing aspect over the filmmaking aspect.
Yeah,
it's a lot less stress involved, and I've always been quite a naturally gifted writer, I would say. Not quite so naturally gifted at directing. I think there's a lot that goes into that. And people work very hard to be very good at directing. I don't think it's something you're just... It's not a God-given talent, for example. It's something you have to train and you have to learn, and it's a grind to get to a point of, you know, your Tarantinos, your Kubricks, your Christopher Nolans, you know, your Greta Gerwigs. So yeah, I think my respect for directing and filmmaking has definitely skyrocketed, but my enjoyment for the idea of it maybe lessened. Or maybe it stayed the same, but certainly the enjoyment for writing has only ever increased for me.
So what advice would you give to someone who wanted to do a similar thing to, well, similar path that you're going down?
Right. So for someone who wanted to, you know, film reviews and what have you, you know, just post regularly. You know, it's always the best way to grow a following on social media, is regular posting.
Yeah.
You know, consistent posting. Try and actively be part of the community. Follow other smaller Instagram posters, you know, and you know, you guys will follow each other back. You know, you grow your following that way. Almost grassroots, essentially.
Yeah.
When it comes to filmmaking, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So, you know, whatever path you think is right, as long as it's right for you, that's the important thing. Some people go to film school, but that doesn't guarantee success. I mean, Christopher Nolan never went to film school, for example.
There you go.
Yeah, and he's made some of the best films ever made.
Yeah.
There's no linear path.
Yeah.
When it comes to filmmaking, it's very diverse, very intricate. But I think, this is so cliche to say, but the most important thing to kind of keep your investment in your future in terms of filmmaking is passion for it. You've got to love films.
Yeah.
If you don't, what is the point?
Yeah.
You know, you are going into an industry where it's all about creativity and expression and storytelling. So if that's not your passion, then you need to be looking somewhere else for your own sake. And if maybe your passion isn't that much, maybe you kind of fade away from the filmmaking side of it. You know, maybe that's not quite right for you, and that's okay as well. You've got to follow your passions at the end of the day. I think.
Definitely. And I suppose, you know, like you said, there's not one path. There's, you know, just going to film school will not guarantee you the success. And
Absolutely.
I suppose in a way that'd be reassuring to anyone out there who's thinking, oh, that's the only way, isn't it? But it's not.
Yeah, and I think another important thing to think about is, you know, I am 22. That's nothing. I am so young. When you look at a lot of the most successful filmmakers and actors as well, a lot of them start a lot later than you would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is a scary mindset. And I say scary because of, in terms of scary to oneself, that you have no time. You're running out of time. You know, where the absence of youth will only bring pain and misery, and you'll be stuck in your ways forever.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, at our age, we're less than a quarter of the way through our potential lifespan. If you call roughly 100, less than a quarter.
Yeah.
Right. And yet, a lot of people our age will feel like they're running out of time. They haven't lived enough. They haven't experienced enough. Well, yeah. I mean, you've only been your own person for what, a couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, you've only been legally an adult where you can go out and do things.
Yeah.
For a couple of years at this point, there is no pressure to have got where you need to be now. You have so much time to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, I fall victim to that myself sometimes. I do think, I'm 23 this year, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, there's not a set timeline for anything, you know? Everyone's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And then hopefully most people get to where they want to go.
Comparison gets you nowhere. So so being like, oh well, Bob from down the road, he's got a job that pays twice as much as mine.
Yeah.
He's happy. He's already engaged. You know, who cares?
Yeah.
That's not you.
Doesn't matter.
You don't have to be at a level where you're in the perfect job with the perfect partner in your own home, especially in today's economy.
Oh God, yeah.
Especially in today's economy.
Yeah.
Work at your own pace, work towards your passions, and it doesn't matter if it takes a bit longer than those around you.
Yes. Who are the 3 people who have been most influential to you? That's such a big one, isn't it?
Damn, that's a really big question. Probably my dad would be one of them. And so I kind of grew up in an environment where we'd watch films a lot and to all sorts of varied music, and I think that really got me off to a good start in terms of fueling knowledge and enjoyment of a wide array of, I guess, creativity. You know, not just films, but just creative exploits in general. I mean, there are so many filmmakers I could talk about for different reasons. Tarantino for his dialogue, Nolan for his cinematography and kind of practical effects.
Yeah.
It's all very inspiring. Like Darren Aronofsky for just being miserable but doing it in a really good way. This is a really random one. Really random one. But one of my year 4 teachers.
Okay.
Very specifically because he read us The Hobbit.
All right.
And he used to do the voices and he had a guitar and stuff. And that very much got me into things like The Lord of the Rings. It got me into reading a bit more. Got me into watching The Lord of the Rings. I think it just fueled my creativity a lot.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. So I guess that would be number 3.
Oh. Yeah. Good. I mean, I can't quite remember your answers from last time, but I'm pretty sure they're different.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to compare, to see how your answers have changed over the years. So we're coming up, we've got two main questions left.
Okay.
And I suppose this is a nice one, but maybe it might be another hard question, really. But what's the best compliment you've received for your work?
I mean, I don't think there's any single compliment that stands above the rest necessarily. For my film reviews, the amount of times people have gone, oh, I really enjoyed this review, even something as simple as that, it means so much to me, you know?
Yeah.
Whilst I'm not doing the reviews because I want to, you know, get lots of people to follow me and, you know, earn me money one day, that's not really why I do it, because I enjoy it. It's like a hobby for me.
Yeah.
But it's so nice when someone else enjoys the work you've done and recognises that you've put some effort into it. Beyond that, I've had a few people say that, you know, I'm a talented writer, which this might sound vaguely vain, but it is somewhat vindicating because I've always felt like I was quite a good writer. So when other people essentially agree with that notion, it makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time. If you know what I mean?
Oh, I get that.
Not that I necessarily think I am, but it's just kind of that extra encouragement to keep writing.
The bit of reassurance that it's I'm doing something good here.
Yeah.
And then my final question, which, you know, are you working on anything exciting at the moment? That old chestnut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I have one is my dissertation piece, which is it's a 1920s murder mystery.
Oh, I like the sound of that already.
Yeah, it's a little bit Agatha Christie inspired. There's a bit of comedy in there.
Oh, okay.
But there's obviously a lot of me in it as well.
Oh.
It does not begin or necessarily centre around a murder.
Oh.
No.
I am so intrigued.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's about a parrot being stolen.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I get that though. I can see how the whole vibe of that.
Yeah.
It really, yeah.
Yeah, so it begins with a parrot being stolen, and then you're going down the rabbit hole of this investigation, and things get steadily more mysterious and sinister.
Oh.
So I'm really enjoying that.
That does sound really good.
Enjoying. Yeah. Because it's quite different for me as well to go with a more, you know, a more mysterious route. I tend to go with very kind of human stories previously in terms of the human experience and emotion and, you know, quite edgy stuff. So this it's a lot more fun, I would say. I recently wrote another one which I would say is quite fun. It was it was a short film script about a guy who has a growing obsession with David Bowie and his music.
Right.
And it's very quirky.
Oh.
So I really enjoy that one. I have a bunch of reviews that I'm in the process of writing.
Yeah.
You know, some of them just need finishing off, and I'm always watching new films and new series, so, you know, there's a lot to come in that respect. As far as filmmaking, that's on pause temporarily, just while I focus on the writing aspect of my degree, and then once that's finally out the way, I'll be looking into an internship, for example, just something to get my foot a little bit more in the door.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. It's nice. Yeah, you've got this plan almost.
Yeah, like half a plan.
Yeah. Well, just the idea, like, I could do that. Yeah. I mean, I said that was my last question, but I've just thought of two more, actually.
Go.
Do you ever, can you ever watch a film and not think about a review for it? Or do you automatically think...
Whenever I'm watching something, I think like everyone, you form an opinion, don't you?
Yeah.
But I guess sometimes I will definitely be looking at it thinking, the cinematography's quite nice, I'll write about that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like this actor's performance, or I especially like this one, or, you know, whatever it is. Sometimes I definitely do go to that kind of review mindset. Especially with films I've seen before, I can put that away. You know, I can compartmentalise it, and I can still watch and enjoy a film. I went through the Cornetto trilogy recently, and I'm not going to be reviewing those.
Yeah.
You know, because I've seen them loads of times, and unless people were desperate to read a review, then I would. And I was able to just sit down and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, good. My final question. Is it just the world of film for you, or is television?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is all sorts, especially with the idea of writing being my main kind of direction now. There
Yeah.
are so many doors open. I've actually written a TV episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So one of the uni projects we had was in a group of 3 or 4 in my group's case.
Yeah.
And you wrote a 3-episode series, so a limited series.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had to come up with the entire idea, have it be original, and then you'd write an episode each, essentially.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, so I love the idea of writing a limited series. I'm not interested in a sitcom necessarily or an episodic thing.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a definitive story, you know. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm necessarily fully opposed to the idea of a multiple season thing, but it would have to make sense for me to want to do that. I do definitely want to be writing films as well. They take a lot more thought in terms of, because they're essentially twice as long as a TV episode, you know. Especially nowadays where they're an hour long, a lot of TV episodes. But I'm definitely interested in that. And then even beyond the on-screen side, there's playwriting, which which I'd be interested in kind of exploring. There's poetry, there's novella. I'm very keen on the idea of writing a book. Very keen on it.
That's the thing with writing, is there are so many avenues for it.
Yeah, and a lot of it you can just do in your own time. Like you can write 3-verse poetry in 10 minutes. You know, if you have an idea, you can just sit down, type it out. It's done. Cool. You've written a poem. Yeah. Now you can go back to your screenwriting, or you can go back to writing your book.
I suppose that almost with the writing, you could find ways to adapt it to suit all of those. So you could, I mean, if you really wanted to, I don't know how many people do, but, you know, you could turn that, you know, poem into a TV show or whatever. I mean, and then that could be adapted into a film. And
absolutely. You get so many adaptations on screen these days. I mean, what was it? Yesterday, day before, Warner Bros. It was revealed that they're trying to make a Harry Potter series.
Yes,
You know, which, but whatever. But you can see there's adaptations coming all the time out of Hollywood and various filmmaking industries.
Definitely. Oh, I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. Each question gives an answer that leads to another question, but we could be here all day otherwise. But wow, thank you. Yeah, like that was an enjoyable thing for me. I don't know about you, but
I enjoyed it.
You know, I go in with my little scripted questions that I want to ask, but
I mean, you fueled my ego asking questions about my creative exploits.
Well, you know, one thing leads to another, and that's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm thankful to everyone I've interviewed on over the time, but you definitely have. Again, I don't want to not negatively put a light on any of the others, but I feel like you offer something a bit different, because you're not just a YouTuber, for example, like the others. You're a bit more outside the box compared to the other people that I've spoke to in this format. So I feel like it's a nice thing for me, because I know very little about the industry that you're in.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas, for example, some of the others YouTube, I kind of know that. So
you've got a bit of knowledge.
I can have a more I can relate to and understand. But with these, it's just it's an eye opener. It's something new, and I like that.
It's quite nice, because obviously, like you were saying, we're both from slightly different worlds, I guess, in the creative sense.
Well, that's the thing, we're both creating content, but it's completely different, really. It's strange, but that was good. I enjoyed that. So,
me too.
Thank you very much for that, and just a final reminder for anyone who doesn't know where they will find you. I'll put all the links in the description, but otherwise, where will you be?
So most of my time I spend at FilmIsRidley on Instagram. There's a website, There's a Twitter, there's a Facebook, I'm all over the place. I also have a filmmaking Instagram, Lost Raccoon Films, and a podcast that I've recently started called the Lost Boy Podcast, so go check those out. Thank you.
Who better to describe yourself than you? I let you take that away, but there, do check out all of Ridley's work. I mean, for the film reviews, I often comment and see them, and I think, oh wow, I did not think of watching this, but this has intrigued me enough, and I've gone on and watched the films afterwards. So, you know, even if you think, oh, that doesn't really interest me, check them out anyway, because you might be surprised. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll be doing more of these interviews with some of the old faces and maybe some new ones too. But yeah, thank you, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out the other videos on this channel, or on one of my other channels as well. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends.